It was in the tiny Langley Church in Warwickshire that the 19th century antiquarian Jacob Cove-Jones had claimed to have hidden the clues to lead to the hiding place of the Lost Ark. Evidently what he had done is to commission a stained glass window to be made and installed in the church, and it was in this window that apparently he had left the clues. The problem was that the window didn't depict the Ark of the Covenant, it depicted the three wise men visiting the baby Jesus. Now this apparently, according to tradition, had happened on the 12th night of Christmas, Epiphany night, and it was called the Epiphany Window. Eventually I reasoned that if this really did hold clues, then presumably it must have something to do with the three wise men story. Now apparently, according to the Bible, they discovered the baby Jesus after following a star, a mysterious star that appeared in the heavens. The star was depicted in the window, but there was something strange about it. It appeared to be two stars, one superimposed on top of another. Now, two stars are associated with the Ark of the Covenant. According to the Bible, on top of the Ark were carved two golden angels. Now, these angels, according to Jewish tradition, are represented by two stars in the sky, and those stars are in the constellation of the Great Bear, known in America as the Big Dipper and in England as the Plough. In particular, they are the two tail stars, Benetesh and Mitzar. The three wise men had followed a star in order to find the baby Jesus. Was this what I was to do? Follow a star, or in this case, two stars? What made me confident I was onto something is that in the border right next to the stars were the letters B and M, Benetesh and Mitzar. If I was right, then the next question was, where was I to observe the stars from? In the window, right between the B and the M, was a firebird, the phoenix rising from the flames. Now this same image of the phoenix was depicted on one of the wise men's gifts in this oddly shaped vessel. Upon it were written the Latin words for come and adore, which ties up with the wise men's story. But the vessel itself was this weird shape. I mean, it looked like a tower, a castellated tower with a conical shaped roof. Remarkably, just such a structure stood nearby on top of the Burton Dasset Hills. In fact, it was erected by the Knights Templar, the very people who are said to have hidden the Ark. I was left with no doubt that this is where the clues were leading when I discovered the name of the tower. It was called the Phoenix Beacon. As the highest point around, it was certainly a great place to observe the stars, but if I was to somehow use the two tail stars, Benetesh and Mitzar, to somehow lead me somewhere, then how was it to work? The problem was that stars in the sky are at different positions at different times of the day. They're moving around all the time. At least the Earth's rotating, so I needed to know a specific time of the day. And it was when I went back to the window and saw that at the top of the window there is depicted a cockerel crowing that I realised I had a clue for the time. According to Christian tradition, the way that the three wise men discovered exactly where Jesus was when they followed the star to Bethlehem is when a cockerel crowed aloud on top of the stable at midnight. If I was right, I was to go to the Phoenix Beacon at midnight to observe the stars. The problem was, throughout the year, the stars move as the Earth orbits the Sun. I also needed, therefore, a day as well as a time. There could surely be only one day, and that was revealed in the window itself. It was called the Epiphany Window, and Epiphany is the 12th night of Christmas. What I should do, where I should be, and when had been revealed by the window. When the day finally arrived, I was joined at the Phoenix Beacon my two friends had been helping me, Graham and Jodie. When it got dark, we could clearly see the constellation in the skies to the northeast, and as the evening went by, the constellation moved and twisted around, so eventually the two tail stars were facing downwards. It now became obvious why two stars were involved. They were pointing together in a line downwards towards the horizon. We took a bearing, and by the light of day we were able to see exactly where the stars had been pointing, to a hill on the horizon. As we drove towards the hill, we discussed what it was we might actually be looking for when we arrived there, and in the window we were sure we were given the final clue. Below the two stars was some sort of red brick structure with a prominent arch. Some 15 miles to the east of the Phoenix beacon, we arrived at the place that the two stars had been pointing down to on the horizon, and we found ourselves entering a tiny little village by the name of Chapel Green. The village was so named, we discovered, because a chapel, a medieval chapel, had once stood there. The chapel still survived as a ruin in the 19th century, but all that remained now was an old holy well. In fact, even that had been replaced by a Victorian drinking fountain. And it was this that convinced us we're in the right place, because it was a red brick arch, and that's exactly what we were looking for. And it had been there in Jacob Cove Jones's day. In his time, we discovered the remains of the chapel had still stood beside the well, but in the 1950s these had been removed to make way for the road. So had the ark been dug up? We discovered from a local farmer that the stones that were the remains of the old chapel, when they were taken away in the 1950s, they were used to dam a stream in a nearby wood. In the bank of the stream, Jodie discovered something quite remarkable. A stone tablet about 1 foot square, about 2 inches thick, and carved with a mysterious inscription. Forensic examination showed the stone to be around 3,500 years old, and the sandstone from which it was made came from the Sinai wilderness in southern Israel, which is exactly the place that the Ark of the Covenant was said to have been made, to contain the 10 Commandment tablets. Could this be one of them? The search for the Ark continues.